we're hot. All right, call the meeting to order of the Charter Review Committee on this day of, where's the day here? Didn't see on that. Thursday, April 25, 2024. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Committee Member Duigiak.
Here.
Committee Member Whittam.
Here.
Committee Member Rocco.
Here.
Committee Member Narayan.
Here.
Committee Member Pinsler.
Here.
Committee Member Kilroy.
Here.
And Chairperson Stressenberg.
Here. Thank you. Member Woodham, would you lead us in our salute to the flag?
Certainly.
Ready. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion and second for approval of the order of agenda for this evening?
Moved. Second.
2 seconds.
Yeah, we have
That's a fourth.
motion Morocco and second Woodham. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Blue folder items, I believe we have one that was sent to us for I-4.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion and second to receive and file?
Motion to receive and file? Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That is done. Consent calendar, only 2 items and really just one because there are no meeting minutes attached. Any comment from the public on consent calendar?
And nothing.
Any member wish to pull anything? Is there a motion and second to approve consent calendar?
Motion to approve. Public.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm sorry, Bob. I did.
We did. Yeah, we did.
That was the first thing I did.
Yep.
So no excluded. Public participation on non-agenda items. Section is intended to provide members of the public with the opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda for action. Section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak this evening on a non-agenda item?
Come on, you can speak on the Dodgers if you want. Nothing, huh?
Where are you going to college next year?
Any Zoom or
Who
e-comments?
told you to
No
come here?
Zoom or
You can
e-comments.
speak
All
about
right,
that.
gentlemen. Let's keep it.
Lost control already.
Yes. All right, so no items there. Moving on to section I, items continued from previous agendas. Section I1, discussion of possible action per city council's direction regarding a charter amendment of the RPUSD school board. We have a most recent copy of a recommendation.
While you're getting it up, I have a comment
Okay,
on the page 6 of 6, where it talks about school board's official position by a 4-to-1 vote. We just got to get rid of the U, so it says BY instead of BUY.
is that,
Where is that?
That's, are you talking about
where the attachment?
the 425?
Yes, the most recent
That
attachment.
Duigiak has that
The report. Yeah.
report.
Yeah, that's your document, so you would need to correct that and.
You hear that, Joe?
I did. I did hear.
Well, actually, this actually brings an interesting point. So I assume that we're going to be approving today multiple documents for service over to the council. Maybe this is a good point to talk about how we're going to corral all the pieces together in the presentation, or whether we're just going to have the city clerk take the final versions that we approve and send it over there.
We'll do that one by one as far as what documentation. They've already got access to anything of these minutes, but as far as putting together a package moving forward, for example, for this one, I would suggest we include this most recent copy of the letter. If you do wish to correct that Scrivener's error, you can certainly do that, and we can approve it with that correction, and you could resubmit that. Do you have it in Word or only PDF?
I think I have it in PDF.
So it would have to be done.
Let me just,
This is just the correction of the U to the what? I can do that and send her a copy.
And we can approve it as amended with that correction, and and you can take care of that.
The only thing I'm going to change is the U, right?
What?
The only thing you want changed is the U.
At this point, yes. But I want,
Well, I mean, at this point,
I wanna know-
we're deciding, you know?
if we approve it today, are we going to also say these are the attachments? Because I think that was one of your concerns, that we don't have all the attachments that you think the
Correct.
council should
I
have.
think we would include no, not the 326, but the 102623 I-5 blue folder item, which is the letter itself.
Right?
And I would also suggest that we include the 72723 I-4 receive and file document that really gives a more detailed summary of where the committee was at prior to receiving the letter from the school board, because I think the council would be interested in seeing that. So those 3 documents for this item.
Okay.
Mr. Pinsler?
Since we're talking about process, once we do go through all of these things and it is presented to the council, it should be incumbent upon the people who wrote it to be at the council meeting to present it. rather
Speak
than
to it.
leaving it solely to the chair, I would think.
I think that's appropriate with the way we're doing it this round.
Do we know the date that
We
it's
do,
May 7th.
May
7th,
7th?
okay,
Yes.
great.
it is set for that.
Yes, it is set.
That's great.
That works.
That's why. That's why I want to know which documents you want on there so I can.
So is that, it would be those 3 documents,
Correct.
this most recent version of the final letter, the letter from the board itself, and the summary dated 7/27/23 that gave the summary of the charter's position, the charter review committee's position.
Yes.
Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yes. The other, since we're talking process and style, are you okay with this version with the red bolding letters for what we considered?
Will it still show up in red in a copy to,
Well, online it'll show up red.
right?
Exactly how you have it is how I'll.
And then the font would be the same thing. Do we want a uniform font in our reports?
I wouldn't worry about that for this. It's, the content is the key thing.
Okay.
It's being done by different people. That's why when I did it, I kept it all uniform, but I don't think that's particularly important here.
Yeah, I have a font I use, but
It shouldn't hinder decision. We're talking points.
Yeah.
if we're worried about fonts, then we've got a problem.
Yeah, just,
Yes.
these are good enough.
Okay, so I think we're in agreement on what that would be. Is there any member of the public to wish to comment on this item?
We have a school board.
School board
We have 2 school board members here. Oh, we
students.
actually have 3, but
Yeah, we have 3. No, we just saw that it was back.
now you'd have to come up if you want to speak.
Hello, my name is Raymer Flynn. I serve on the Redondo Beach Unified School Board. We just saw that this was back on the agenda item, so wanted to be here to hear any discussion. Appreciate the addition of the letter that the school board sent, and that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I move that we forward this report to the city council. I would also like, as we go through these, to actually have a roll call vote, because there's some things that, for example, I'm voting no on the recommendation, but I believe it's important to send it on. So if we can have a roll call vote as we go through.
And the roll call vote is to, simply for what we're sending on.
If I could ask, why are you voting no?
I'm not voting no on this one.
Oh, okay.
But there are some pieces that I've actually already expressed my no opinion on.
Oh, okay. I'm
So I
sorry.
just wanted clear that it's not, on some of the issues, it's not going to be unanimous, even though it is going to be unanimous on sending over the report. I just want to have the ability to speak my objection or non-objection as part of the record.
Okay.
But this one I'm fine with.
And if you're at the council meeting, you can say whatever you wish. Okay.
Okay, so I will make the motion that, so it's clear that we forward the 3 documents, the most recent copy of the summary letter, the letter from the charter committee, and then the letter from the actual school board, and then also the earlier July 27, 23 summary of the Charter Reviews Commission, Charter Review Advisory Committee's position on this prior to the school board letter. That is a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion second. You do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Committee member Duziak,
Aye.
committee member Woodham,
Aye.
committee member Morocco,
Aye.
committee member Narayan,
Aye.
committee member Pinsler,
Aye.
committee member Kilroy,
Yes.
and chairperson Stressenberg.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
So with that, I don't think we need to continue this item. It is very possibly going to come back to us again. But at this point, does anyone on the committee see a need to continue it?
No.
Okay. So with that, that'll be put to rest for now, and we will move on to the next item, I2. Bring up my agenda again.
Yeah, the city attorney's going to be here a little bit later. He's running late from another meeting, just so you know.
Postpone this.
I would think-
For,
He said he probably about 30 minutes before he gets here.
He's at a city, one of the District 2 meetings, so
okay.
if we can table it until.
He gets here.
Until he gets here.
Who's that? Oh,
Just change the order of the agenda. I'll move to change the order of the agenda of this item until the city attorney is available.
Second.
Okay, motion second to do so. All in favor?
aye.
All right, moving on then, I3, discuss and possible action per city council's direction regarding Article 11, Section 11.1, the city treasurer. We have a most recent document here as well, the 4/25/24 recommendation to city council regarding city treasurer. Mr. Pinsler, Mr. Duziak.
We put together along with the city attorney, with the city treasurer, a history as well as a proposal for changes to the existing 11.1 section. Should also note that there are recommendations that we'd like to have in a separate item. The specific eligibility would be offered separately from the above. That we do think that this is an item that we would like to see as a separate situation regarding the city treasurer rather than being in one. So this is actually two different potential items on the ballot.
One comment here in reading through this, at the bottom of the first page, it addresses measure CT. And that was discussed a fair amount, and there was some interesting conclusions on that. I would propose to add the language, during discussion, it was established that it is up to the individual holding elected office to determine if the charter is being violated with respect to the duties of that elected office. Speaking as to the city charter being allowed to be circumvented, the elected city attorney Webb reported it is up to the city treasurer to decide whether or not the changes constitute a violation or whether or not he can still perform his duties, and the city treasurer did not think he could not perform his charter duties. I found that to be a very important point that was made, and would like to see that included here. The appropriate place would be right after that end paragraph about measure CT, because it does relate to that.
If you could, because there was a double negative in there. And
That was a direct quote from the city attorney. So the double negative,
the issue with this is, explain the specific issue you're trying to resolve, just to clear it up.
that the reason it wasn't addressed prior was because prior treasurer supposedly had stated it was not an issue. And it's a direct quote from the minutes of that meeting, so.
If you could repeat it again.
Okay. During discussion, it was established that it is up to the individual holding elected office to determine if the charter is being violated with respect to the duties of that elected office. Period. Speaking as to the city charter being allowed to be circumvented, elected City Attorney Webb reported it is up to the city treasurer to decide whether or not the changes constitute a violation or whether or not he can still perform his duties, and the city treasurer did not think he could not perform his charter duties.
And that's in quotes.
I didn't put it, it could be put in quotes, but it is a direct quote from the meeting.
I would put it in quotes.
Okay.
It's not gender neutral to start with. But I also think that the conclusion is wrong because the council should be made aware if the charter is not being followed, and they ultimately should be the ones who decide what the consequences are. So if they're not informed, then they can't take any action.
Yeah, that goes,
That's the modern day version of hear no evil, see no evil. If they don't know, if they're not told, they don't have to know.
I won't defend what was said. This is what was stated.
It would be interesting to hear from Mike what he meant by that, because clearly he was parsing his words by his, speak of the devil. No, it's, hey, Gene, we were discussing, as you could have if you could join us.
It's not a devil.
The quote from Mike is a with the double negatives is kind of intriguing to me. But what is it that was meant by that, and what practically can be done if, for example, the city treasurer decides, I can't do this? What happens?
I apologize for being a bit tardy. I was item number 3, so I
Yeah, we're going faster than usual.
came a little bit late here. My recollection with regard to city attorney's statement, I'm going to speak for him, this would be my recollection, was that the person in the role of treasurer, if they stated they could not perform the functions of the job, would then ask, would be able to, eligible for redress through the courts, if that's the question. Or perhaps you can restate the question for me.
But it was up to that person in that elected position to make that determination.
I recall it being put that way, that it is up to the person to say they could not perform the functions of the job. I would respectfully disagree with that, as the charter states that the person shall do these functions and be required to perform these functions. Perhaps there's case law or some legal statement that interprets it that way. But I do remember the city attorney saying if the person felt like they could do the job, then that would be okay and we would not be in violation of the charter.
And that's my memory as well. And I took the direct quote from the meeting minutes.
That was then and this is now. I don't think we want people deciding what their duties are. The charter just describes what their duties are, and that's it. And if they can't perform them because they're not being funded, that's a different subject, and I think that is subject to litigation. But I don't think people just get to say, I can't do this job, even though I raised my hand and said I want to do this job.
And I think that's a separate discussion. What I'm proposing here is just to add the language that the city attorney used.
And I'm only addressing the conversation about people deciding who can do the job and who can't.
And that's not really the discussion we're having. It's just,
But it's an integral part of the charter.
that's understood, but it's not the discussion we're having.
I guess the problem is that the double negative kind of threw me, because it seems to me that if somebody decides they can't do the job, they can quit. And so that's a whole different story. If they feel like they're going to be in jeopardy of some sort, they can quit. But it sounded like the city attorney was meaning something else when he said that the red flag needs to go up from the city treasurer that, hey guys, I can't do this. And the only one who could say that, according to what the city attorney said, was the city treasurer.
That was my impression as
I
well.
understand it as well.
That's what
why
I'm getting. I think that's what that means.
Just to make sure it's in a record, to make sure that this can.
But I think the council needs to be informed, because then the public will be informed that there is an issue that's out there.
That's a separate discussion.
But that's part of that. If the person makes the determination, he needs to report to the council that he's made that determination. So then the whole public can weigh in on the whole
All
process.
that I'm reporting here is, recording and proposing we put in here is to make clear this was the city attorney's position.
I guess we have to table it until he comes.
To the end that yes, it is the incumbent upon a city treasurer that feels that they can't do the job for whatever reason, needs to say so. They should say so.
Well, they know what the job is. It's in the charter, and that's what we're doing, what the job is. And if they can't do it, then there's a because or a why.
Yeah.
And that's different. I'll agree that that's a different conversation. But the fact is, the duties should be delineated in the charter.
And they are, but the finance group took over part of it without.
That's what I intended to do with the section. I think we both worked on that, to delineate those things. I think we did that. The question here is, I think that if, for whatever reason, we haven't gotten it all, who is the source of raising the hand to say, hey, this is still a problem? Can it be a city council? Say, or you aren't doing this. I'm not sure, is that a proper?
I think Joe Blow off the street can do it.
I would agree.
I don't think it's unnecessary for who identifies the problem if there's a problem, if it's a legitimate problem.
Mr. Solomon?
I think part of the discussion should be is unable to perform the functions or is being prevented from performing those functions. I think there is
Yeah, that's the why and the because.
I think there's a distinction there between those two. And I agree with Mr. Woodziak that anybody off the street could come in and say,
Yes.
you're in violation, you're acting in a way that appears to violate the city charter. We wish to have this investigated. I don't think it would just be the person in that chair.
Yeah.
And then on a similar issue, in violation of the charter, the city attorney stated that he couldn't do anything unless there was a police report.
That was your school board.
Well,
Similar, a violation of the charter.
I got it.
He would not do anything.
But those are inactions. In other words, somebody comes in and reports to somebody says, hey, we have an issue. Like, they say, they do this at public comment. They get referred to the police department. Just go out the door and go make a police report. Okay, it's a very simple process. You're making it too difficult because you're allowing the weasel words to get into the conversation. Meaning, what did he mean when he said that? It doesn't matter what he says. It's the interpretation of what the charter says. It's like saying the First Amendment, it is what we say it is. No, not really. I'm a strict interpreter of things. Words mean what they say.
It was purely a carry-on to that last paragraph where it addresses Measure CT did not address the reassignment of the tactical functions, and it's just left hanging as.
But
Why?
that's the prerogative of the council and how they run their business. But pointing out that there's a charter violation, anybody can do that. Anybody can go to the police department and make a police report. Now that we know it has to be
A police
a
report.
police report for the city attorney to address it. Now, we didn't know that when we started this, or we may have known it. We just weren't aware that that's the process.
I wouldn't have known that.
Well, now you do. So if anybody has a problem with charter violations, I encourage them to walk across the street and push the little blue button on the phone, and they'll come out and take a police report.
I would note that in our history, prior to Mr. Odell being the city treasurer, the previous city treasurer, Alice
I
DeLong,
was going to say, you can say her name.
okay.
My arch enemy.
Alice DeLong, who has a history with Mr. Duiziak,
So she does.
brought
Oh,
up,
the feet with the.
withheld approval of a warrant and ended up in litigation with the city. And it was, if I don't remember, I don't have the lawsuit in front of me, perhaps the city clerk may know exactly, she was here at the time. Did Ms. DeLong bring action against the city, or did the city bring action to compel Ms. DeLong to approve the warrant?
That I don't know. But
She wouldn't be proud to do, except for the city taking action.
yeah, I think city took action.
But at the same time, at the November 7th, 23 council meeting where we were talking about the committee recommendations, the city attorney opined about confirming that he gave an example saying that the council, there is a real check and balance. We had a council that fired a former assistant to city manager, but that is a direct violation. And the only one who can enforce it is the city attorney.
Again, I agree. I couldn't agree more. But until we started this
You just
go
missed the
around-
police report.
Until we started this go around or charter review, I don't think there would, well, maybe the city attorney may have known that the only way to get a violation off the ground is to file a police report.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that's his policy. Okay? I don't know if that's written anywhere or not. I'm just taking his word for it.
It's not.
No, I realize that. I got that part. I was being kind. For once in my life, I was being kind. And you're not giving me credit for it.
Take it when you get it.
Yeah, take it when you get it.
Wasn't to me.
So the next city attorney can change it.
Yes, exactly. But my point is, we now know that somebody thinks it's a charter violation, elected or unelected, just needs to walk over there and push the blue button. And got some nice young man or woman will come out and they'll take a report. No, they'll take a report. They are obligated.
I understand exactly what you were trying to do, and I see where it was going. The question is it necessary to be in the charter? That specific statement. So
I'm not putting it in the charter.
It's a report, right?
It's just into the
Just in the
report.
report.
Yeah, not in the charter.
well, if you want that done, then the recommendation should be you should make an ordinance about it, or a resolution or something about this. Get it into policy.
But that's,
How to
Perhaps.
report a charter violation.
but I was just simply proposing that
In the report, we say
in the
that.
report, as a bit of an explanation of
Notify
why
the council.
CT did not address
And I misunderstood.
the issue. You know, that was all I was doing.
Okay.
Just, that's why I said, to put that verbiage into the report right after the final paragraph about Measure CT.
If we were to go to the council and say that is the policy, and the question then comes up, well, what happens to the next city attorney? Do we just say, well, that's up to them, and we'll change it as we go? We need to say that to the council. I'm not even sure the council knows that you need to go.
I'm sure they,
Most people don't.
I'm sure they don't. I don't know. Or
I think the
because
perception
they
has
think they
been
have
that the
power.
city attorney would do it. That would have been my, yeah, but that's not the case.
Well, council could hire
history has
somebody
shown-
to do it. That's their prerogative if we have an appointed city.
No, they
attorney.
can't.
If it's appointed city attorney, that would be the council's prerogative. to-
Appointed city attorney, yes.
Right.
But as it stands right now, the council has to ask the city attorney to hire an attorney, which is a whole other question we're going to get to when he gets
To
to
that one. Anyway, I thought it was an interesting clarification as to why Measure CT did not address these issues when it was really a perfect opportunity to do it, and it wasn't done.
So if it is not intrinsic to this statement here, so our goal here is to get the verbiage we want to present to the council.
And I mean, yeah, that's where I'm proposing to put it into this 2-page report,
You might just add a note or a paragraph that says something like, by the way, I can write this, that the issue came up of reporting charter violations, and really the city has no policy. That's known,
No formal policy.
no formal policy, yes.
really, yeah, no
So-
methodology.
And you may want to consider, before you put things on the ballot, the way where the charter is enforced. Make that a note on this item, because this is the item of controversy. Reporting charter violations.
So this is,
This
Your
is,
report,
as I
Mr.
termed previously, a fiat, as opposed to,
and I agree, that was
well,
what happened.
I haven't changed my mind.
So
Yeah, so even though in 11.2, it says, shall prosecute on behalf of the people any and all criminal cases arising from violations of this charter
Right?
or city ordinances.
But the
that's-
real question
that's
is, the question is the process of
Process.
reporting a violation of the charter.
process of reporting, and then the only thing it calls out there is prosecute, not investigate. And he went into great length about he does not investigate. So
Right.
how does one get it
He
investigated?
told us, you go to he wants a police report.
So it's
But
Falling
that's
upon
not,
our
that's not.
police department to
But
investigate.
nobody knows that. In other words, I'll just say, a gadfly wants to file, and they don't know whether or not they have to go to the city. Nobody's gonna tell them, because they're a pain in the ass.
But that, in most
And they speak
issues
so
like
well of
that,
you.
you do need an investigator, and it's usually a separate entity that's charged with investigating.
Yeah, because your typical police investigators are going to be not of this expertise.
I think you raised a very worthwhile issue to present to the council and say, okay, this is on your plate, figure it out.
Yeah, exactly, I would, yeah. Because this
You
is.
can do it by ordinance, you can do it by resolution.
This is a policy decision
Yeah.
that has to be made. And do you want to leave that in the city attorney's office? Or do you want to leave that up to the council, in the sense that they're the community leaders? So are they issuing a policy? Future councils can change it if they don't like it.
If I can, please, I don't know if you want to leave the discretion of whether or not a person is in violation of our city charter to the person who may in fact be violating the city
I
charter.
agree, I agree with that. Anybody can report it. We need the process for people to report it, that's all. I mean, we already know who's going to prosecute violations of the charter, because that's in the charter.
I think this was a more benign issue, that it would be the city treasurer who understands the way the charter's set up, it doesn't work,
Well, I
which
don't-
is sort of what we're doing now.
But this is not confined
It's not to this.
to the treasurer.
It's a bigger subject.
Yes, it's a much bigger
But
subject.
this was I felt an appropriate
It is
choice.
appropriate, I agree
to
with
bring
that.
the
And
point.
I agree that this should be brought up as a ancillary point to why we're recommending this changes to the charter. That's all. I mean, because, again, we're not really tasked with the policy issues.
Correct.
But we now know that one office controls whether or not they're going to do that. And does the council want to leave it at that? Regardless of who occupies the seat,
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes,
It's an office, that's correct.
yes, right, yeah, right. Because it's part of the charter,
So,
or should be part of the charter.
and it does raise a lot of questions.
It does. and it's
The key
something
here
that
to me
they-
was to give some explanation as to why CT did not address it. And the explanation was that the city treasurer at that time made the determination
Again,
himself that it
that's
was not.
personality driven. And
I agree.
A charter violation is only a charter violation if it's a charter violation.
It's in the charter.
Right. So,
Someone
and you have to have
calls
a
it out.
remedy. You have to have a remedy for people.
I think it's worthwhile to bring it up. And I think as part of the presentation generally that we make at the meeting at the beginning of May, is that this is an issue that affects every department, not just the city treasurer.
And
It affects the whole charter. It's not every department. because every department is in the charter.
And I think because our chair is the one who's bringing it up and will be there as the overall leader of discussion, I personally
I
don't
can
have an
shout at
issue
people.
if you can work out the language between the three of you to come up with how you're going to present it to the
I
council.
don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with the
Let's
language.
kick it he's an attorney, let's kick the ball to him.
That'd be four.
Yeah. No, I don't have a problem with the language. It's the placement and being part of this, because maybe it's the way we worked on this, but we think this is a clear statement of what we want
You mean as regards to the
as part of the charter.
Yeah.
And this is an issue that is not just city
I agree.
attorney,
I
city
agree.
treasurer associated.
But-
It just
but-
happens to have been an issue that came up because of the city treasurer.
But now the barn door is open.
It's now open,
And
and we
so
should-
I don't think we can go back. I don't think we
No.
can just ignore it.
But you can
Right.
put it as a future topic that we would like to
Yes, there you
continue,
go.
consider
Okay,
and bring
that
up,
could be.
and, because we are doing that. And to spell it out
We
there.
can put it under the moral turpitude clause.
There you go.
So with that, would you be okay with adding this paragraph in this report at that? The intent here was to provide explanation as to why it was not addressed in CT. Because it raises,
Oh, thank you.
I think it fits the CT issue, but it needs to be presented as being not just the CT
and we can do
treasurer
that.
issue.
Yeah. That would be an appropriate
This
venue.
is an example of what it would.
This came up.
Because of this, and we realize that this is an issue that goes beyond just this one particular.
Well, it's a deficiency of the charter, really. In other words, people don't have a remedy when they see, or a clear path to remedy, when they see, or they think they see a violation.
No, I disagree. It's not a charter problem, it's a policy problem.
Knowledge problem.
No, not,
Because the next city attorney may say, anybody can come to me.
I agree, I agree, but we
Still do
don't
it.
know that.
We don't know.
And I don't think that's fair to the public. Now I'm gonna talk in general terms.
They're not going to know about it.
Yeah, they're not gonna know about it, right,
Unless we
exactly,
put it in
exactly. So
open-
what they don't know can't hurt them, right?
I think this is a good
Don't do
place
that,
to.
Bob, I think you're agreeing with me on it.
I do think that putting stuff into the charter like that, how would you?
Well, we're
state
getting
it?
off topic about,
No, I don't think we need to put the process in the charter.
we're getting off topic about, we're discussing
Yes,
now
we
a
are.
We need to let the
methodology.
city council know at this meeting
Yes.
coming up,
Yes.
that this is an issue that we've uncovered, and it needs to be, it's a policy issue which we're not responsible for.
And that would work with inserting this even here. And then
We can
It
do
doesn't
that
have
here.
to have the double negatives, and there can be just.
those,
That's a quote, that's a
that's a
quote.
direct quote.
I understand that, but,
I'm not going to change a quote.
okay.
So I have no problem of including that as a statement of an issue that's associated with what we're talking about here, but it is not exclusive to the city treasurer.
Absolutely. Agree completely.
I have no problem. Joe?
Any other members have any?
I think I suggested that.
That I'd like
Okay.
to address.
All right, so
But I'll wait till you finish this topic.
we're good with this one. All right. So Mr. Morocco, you had further comments?
I have 4 questions, points. I wasn't clear, having read this, that you were actually wanted to propose a separate duty and a separate eligibility. So maybe having a header there or some clearer language that say, we're proposing the duties, but we also would like you to consider the eligibility. I know it says we recommend addition, but it sounded initially, if you read through it, that this is all one massive change. So if you can put a header there, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, I mean, it's fine. Just-
And make it clear that that is truly a second and separate
Yeah,
proposal.
yeah. And then my second point is to address to the treasurer. If you look over all the duties that are being proposed in this charter and knowing that these charters are not going to be changed very often, do you see something that you yourself think need to be included in those duties, or that you think that your successor would need to conclude in the duty, or your successor's successor, because now's the time where we can actually delineate all that. So is there something that you think we're missing in those duties, or we should be redefining it in some way for some future anticipated situation?
He needs to go back to his office and get his crystal ball.
And if you know about the future, let me know the lottery numbers if you
Yeah.
can.
I would suggest that the way the charter is currently written, it delineates, it covers all the bases that we see coming in and out of the office and coming in and out of financial services at this time. And it reads in some places broadly enough, if there is some adjustment, a division of things with regard to certain licenses or fees or taxes, that it would be encompassed by the current descriptions, the broad nature of the current descriptions. Also, when going back and looking at things, if you're looking to interpret them, should we not include it with specificity if the only thing I could think of doing beyond making a specific recommendation would have some omnibus recommendation. But I don't know that that would be too broadly defined and perhaps rejected.
So as we're sitting here, everything that we're proposing is something you are in complete agreement, that's within the scope of what you're doing, and that financial services isn't grabbing from you at this time?
Yes.
Okay. And then my last point, and this is an opinion thing, but I think the public and the council may be interested in this, is whether we believe that what we're proposing is going to increase, decrease, or going to be neutral to the possible number of candidates running for office. And it can be a simple statement is that we've looked at it, we cannot make a recommendation of our opinion about how this is going to impact the number of candidates.
For the entire thing, or the first part or the second part?
Second one, right?
The second part.
But the second part.
Assume it would limit, because, I mean,
Or anything where we change the duty. So I'm going to bring it up again when we get to the clerk. Is it going to,
oh, sorry.
is it going to negatively impact the number of candidates? Do we think it's really not, because we don't actually say ultimately why we think that these responsibilities are necessary at this
These
point in time.
Requirements.
Right, so, but I think it would be nice for the council to know that we think that there's neutral on the number of people, because you don't want to cut off a number of people as an unintended
I
consequence.
think it would cut off the number of people, wouldn't it? Because, I mean, you don't have these qualifications, do you? All these?
I would qualify as under what's included there now.
No.
I had
4 years?
4 years of municipal finance experience and have worked as a registered investment advisor.
What about you, Mr. Kilroy? Would you qualify? Because you ran for this also this year, or last year.
hell no.
Yeah. That's what I was curious, like, in terms of who's going to run for this role, like, it will likely reduce the number of people able
Well,
to
you
run.
can consider it this way. Mr. Kilroy had all the municipal finance experience, having served on Budget and Finance Commission, City Council.
Yeah, do you really count that, though, as, we had this long discussion as to what actually counts for municipal or any other kind of financial experience. So, yes, if you interpret it that broadly, sure.
Yeah, and therein lies the crux of
There lies
anything
the
like
crux.
this.
And then we
Yeah.
get back to this whole discussion as to the arbiter is of that, which we said was the city clerk. I remember that discussion was, as an engineer, like I said, deal with numbers a lot, numbers and logic and that sort of thing. Reading a balance sheet, it's not rocket science, let's put it that way. But there are a separate set of rules and GASB, and whatnot that apply specifically to municipalities. And quite frankly, I will say, even as a council member, yeah, I can read a budget and I can read and understand, but it doesn't give me the experience of GASB.
Mr. Pinsler?
I think the issue here is this what's the statement afterwards to answer Ron's issue, we believe these requirements best fit the responsibilities necessary to perform the above assigned charter duties. I think what has happened, as we will probably discuss with the city clerk as well, is that times have changed. And by creating these, we are recognizing the fact that this office is different than it might have been before. And that the responsibility that is given to it, government it tends to be a lagging indicator. How many years lagging is always the argument. But we've come to realize that there was something in the city treasurer's office that needed to be changed. Moss Adams was a perfect example of that. What I think these requirements do is recognize what is now being asked of that person. And that's why these things were set up. As opposed to, city clerk with 15 units of accounting, we can argue that
We have.
and we have. But at least from our perspective, these were things that indicate that we recognize that that office has changed and the environment in which the office operates has changed. And therefore, we think these are proper.
And rather than opining as to whether it increases or decreases the candidates, we're simply saying it creates a better list of candidates.
Yeah.
It depends. I mean, I could always hire somebody and just adjust my qualifications depending on what they currently do. So it might be, I have a qualification list, requirements for my job, but I would adjust depending on who's applying for the job too. So some flexibility, just leave a little flexibility. I mean, at least some flexibility, but not, you have to adhere to these rules.
And that's part of the reason we're proposing this as a separate entity.
Yep.
But the origin is actually, now that the city attorney's here, is that when we had the residency requirement for certain candidates like city attorney, that shrunk the pool. And I can see it as a fair question the council will ask, well, what does the committee think is going to be the consequence? Are we going to get more people, less people? Not, but what you said, Mr. Pinsler, is that we're going to get more qualified people. And I think that's the answer that, yeah.
I don't know.
Guess it begs the question.
Get qualified.
We'll get
Qualified
people. And there's always that weasel word, working with government. That's in there as well. So that is the interpretive part.
Okay.
With regard to the municipal finance experience language that's in there, that was derived from job postings and/or ordinances or requirements from other cities. It wasn't a language that I created. It was language that was skimmed from other sources. Yeah, I see the point of what the interpretation of that is. The way that I would understand that would happen if the city clerk determined that that person was qualified or there was a challenge to whether or not that person was qualified, the city clerk would weigh in on that. And if the person disagreed with the city clerk's decision, that person could seek remedy in the courts.
That was my point.
Any other comments on this report?
Let's find out if Eleanor's gun shy or not.
Do I have,
Any comments online?
any comments? There's no.
Oh, good.
There's no
Come on up and
comments
speak.
and-
Come on, speak.
And there's no Zoom.
Just tell us who you are and what you'd like to say.
I'm Robert Tallis. I'm kind of confused on what the charter is exactly.
Okay.
Okay, we can explain that. The city charter is like the constitution for a city. Not all cities in California need to have them. They can have them, but the city selects if they want to have one. If you're not a charter city, Redondo Beach is a charter city. We have this document that basically spells out what's called the organic law of the city. It's the basic things, how the city operates, how people get elected and how they run things. If you don't have a charter, you're what's called a general law city. You just fall to the general law of California and operate your city under those premises. So that's what we're doing is really revising what you could call our city's constitution, and you are familiar with the Constitution.
Yeah. So you make your own laws like based on the laws of the state, right?
Yes.
Actually, if I can interrupt, and congratulations to Mike. We have, by having a charter, we have created local control of various extremely important elements of our city. And you may want to explain SB 9, because this could explain exactly why we have a
I
charter.
don't want to go into that.
No, I think it's worthwhile.
No, but not for this. We're getting way off track here. No.
Anyway.
I'll say no.
I just gave them some study material to read
Okay.
of what a charter
So
is.
that's the basics of what a charter is, and that's what we're discussing
And what
here.
you find unusual is we actually have our school board as part of the city charter as opposed to separate. That's what we did the first part of the meeting.
All right,
All right, thank you.
you bet. Thank you. Are there any other of these documents that the committee would like to see submitted with this summary?
I hope that this was enough of a report. I don't know, Mike, if you had a chance to look at it and see if there were any questions to it. But other than that, I would like to present this document to the council.
With the,
With the addition.
yeah, with
With the addition.
With the additions. And you making that
That's my
motion?
motion.
Okay,
Second.
okay, motion is second.
I just had a question. So the motion includes having the headers on it saying,
Yeah, I'll
And adding a note on why the eligibility requirements were added, a brief explanation. Okay,
I'd like a roll call on this.
okay, roll call vote.
Committee member Dewisiak,
Aye.
committee member Whittam,
Aye.
committee member Morocco,
Aye.
committee member Narayan,
Aye.
committee member Pinsler,
Aye.
committee member Kilroy,
Aye.
chairperson Stressenberg.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to your hard work on this, and it's a long, tedious process.
Thanks for your help.
I'm very grateful for the recommendations the committee has made to the council.
And we would hope that you would be at the May 7th meeting to,
I will be there to support questions that the council may have of me, along with the committee members.
excellent.
Which meeting in May is this?
May
The
7th.
first Tuesday.
That's the council meeting where this is getting
Yeah, I
presented.
realize that, but.
It's May 7th.
7th.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, then, with that, we can then go back to item I2, discussion and possible action per city council's direction regarding a charter amendment on whether the city attorney position should be split into city prosecutor and civil attorney. We have, most recent in here is a 222.
That was again my review of the
That was.
history and where we approached and why we came to the decisions both on originally placing it on the charter, on the ballot as to whether it should be appointed or elected, and to not go forward with a split of the prosecutor as a specific position separate from the city attorney's office. There, as I mentioned also, there is that remaining issue, and it's one, again, that is up to the council to do, is whether the city attorney should be the sole source of legal advice for the city council. And we did not come to that conclusion. This can be in or out. It's really up to the committee whether to present this to the council at all. If in looking at the other cities that have had these issues regarding whether or not that the elected city attorney should be elected or appointed, part of that came from both in Huntington Beach and in San Diego. Part of the issue became because of a conflict regarding where the source of legal advice came from. That was the driving force behind it. In our case here, we have a requirement that if the city council wants to get legal advice, they have to go through the city attorney to get that legal advice. And the question is whether the city council should be able to get their own legal advice. And that I placed before the committee as to whether or not to include this in the presentation to the city council next time.
Well, yeah, our recommendation would then remain what it was before,
It still remains that.
and that included that issue. We had, at the last report presented two different options. One was the complete change from elected to appointed, and the alternate was to change that language that you were just talking about by striking the language as Mr. Colantino had recommended. So those remain. And I'm looking for those documents right now. Haven't come to which ones, but those would need to be included.
So I have some comments while you're looking.
Yes.
And one of them may be exactly what you're looking for. Under initial requests, this is our package to the council. They kicked it back with the initial request. I think either in that paragraph under initial request where it talks about the vote, do it as a footnote or just a sentence saying that the initial recommendation was that we have the council appoint, or actually that it should be appointed. And that brings me to my second point is,
Excuse me, Ron, we didn't decide whether it was supposed to be elected or appointed. It was that the voters should be offered the opportunity to decide that.
I would like my dissent still into the process, so.
Well, it was a 6-1, and you're the one.
I understand, but if you're not putting any context on the dissent. The committee said we think this should be on the ballot. And I think it needs to be included with the last report. The last report, again, it doesn't have to be all encompassing, it just be a sentence in there. We're including the last report and the dissent related to the last report as part of this report. And then the second point, and I know I brought it up at the last meeting we had, the city manager's taken a position that the appointment should be, not the city manager, the mayor's taken the position that the city manager should be the person appointing. And I believe that we as a committee early on said, no, it should be the council that's appointing. And I think it should be some sort of passing reference in there so that they can at least see that we've considered it. And again, it doesn't have to be a full-blown paragraph, but it could be a sentence in there that even in that same thing with the 6-1 vote, that we as a committee looked specifically and believed that the council should be the one doing the appointing, not the city manager, because we did early on look at that position.
Okay.
So I agree with you because council is specifically asking for us to include in the report to them, or whatever you want to call it, things we considered and why we decided not to go that way. So I do think that's really important we include that. Do you mind if I butt in for a second, or are you done?
No, you go ahead. I'm always happy when somebody else speaks.
The 6-1 vote was before I came on the committee, correct?
Correct.
We had a vote subsequent to that, didn't we?
That was a different thing.
That was a split, that was a 4-3 vote, I think.
That was a 4-3
On the
vote.
language that somebody proposed.
Well, if we're going to include the 6-1 vote, could we have an asterisk and my name not be included as part of the 6? Because right now, as it would stand by normal people reading this, you would be the one dissenting and it would be just automatically assumed that I voted for it. Or include a date or something.
Okay, I can include that.
That makes sense.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay, so you have clarity on what
I've
you
got
want to modify to this too?
When does the document need to be in for the council meeting?
So I will need it Thursday morning,
Thursday, the
Prior to
the 2nd,
the second?
Thursday, the
May
2nd.
2nd, Thursday morning.
Okay.
So is Mr. Penzler, if we vote on it, able to submit to some of us to look at the document that's going to the council before the 72-hour period? Does he
Yeah, I
have the
figured you're gonna make
flexibility at this
changes.
point? What?
I figure you're gonna make changes and then you're gonna send it to me.
Yeah, but
This was a
since
solo,
it's a
so.
decision that we've made, can I send it to everybody for extra form? Nope.
You can send it to me though, because I think I was started with you on this
Right,
thing. Yeah. I think I was, because the dissenting that I did.
Okay, so we can't do that. But what we're doing is we'll make a resolution that'll include, like we did prior, we'll include the changes that we're asking for Mr. Pinsler to put into the document. And we've done
Decided to
that
do it.
before.
Why is this?
So what you can do is you can approve some subcommittee to make modifications that you decide tonight and changes as to form.
Ron, you're okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
It just, you can't take votes and collaborate outside.
That's not what he was asking. He was asking, can we see the finished product?
Well, you can see the finished product. It was the second part, which is approving it.
No.
Okay.
Not approving.
The issue is we've made a decision about how to revise the document.
Right.
Why, once we've made that decision, why is it that everybody can't look at it and say, you forgot that?
Well, because that is.
That's a decision?
That's a meeting. And because what will happen is you'll start having, oh, no, you forgot the word no, you forgot this, you forgot that, and then you're collaborating. It's a
So we're
Brown Act
counting on
meeting.
him to
But
be
you
perfect.
could,
do that.
you're counting on a subcommittee
do
to be perfect. And as long as all of you agree, hey, make these changes, and
Okay, that's fine.
that would be fine.
Can we have a 10-minute meeting, a special meeting, just to basically pass it out to everybody so that everybody can
Yes,
say fine?
you could do that if there's,
We have none, no meetings available.
No meeting time available and.
No, that's.
I don't know.
You
They're
have to
doing one
notice it,
tomorrow
sir.
at 5
I'll tell you
o'clock
what,
in the
why don't we
evening.
all?
No, there's a meeting already tomorrow.
Everybody shows up at the city
there's-
council meeting.
Budget and
Yeah,
finance.
We convene
Yes.
at the council meeting.
you can't convene,
That's really
however,
hard.
you
While they're
can
in closed
show up
session,
and
yeah.
point out.
These are pretty minor.
These are pretty minor things. Let's just leave it to the committee, and if you have a problem at the meeting, you can mention it.
And is it clarified in your document that those two prior recommendations remain?
Two prior recommendations remain.
That's not in the document. It's just that one paragraph from the initial request.
So to add that clarification,
Okay,
and then to include those two documents, which were included with the last
right,
report.
okay.
So include 222, 24, and what's the other document?
Well, there's two
I will
other ones.
find that and include it.
And when we met before, I did make the point, you should have the 6-1 vote and the document that go with it, and you should have the 4-3 vote and the document that goes with it, and then you can say, our recommendations remain. And that would be the easiest way, I would think, to present that.
It will be done.
And the two versions of the charter change, I'm not finding them right now in ours, but I know they were attached to the city council at
Meeting.
11/7/23.
Okay. Other than that, may get this approved?
Motion to approve the, what do you want to call it?
Up to revised.
The revised,
The report as amended,
the report as amended. And we'll leave it at that.
and to include the two prior recommendations.
And the notification that you were not a member of the
And the dissent.
committee at the time, and the dissent.
The dissent you can do.
Dissent. Eleanor's got all that. That's all part of the motion.
Well, if you have the 4-3 vote, you don't have to notify.
Yeah.
The 4-3
That was it.
Right.
But the specific notification that he was not a member, that was not a member at the time, he just wants that stated, and I will take care of it.
It's already a part of the minutes.
Okay.
A motion?
That's a motion?
The
Mr.
motion
Pinzer,
is?
Bob's going to make all those changes.
I'm going to make all these changes with Ron.
To accept the report as amended to forward to city council along with the two documents, the two documented prior recommendations, which were to change from elected to appointed. Or the second option was to, if that was not done, to change the language in the charter that requires only the city attorney can forward options for outside counsel, to the city council. And that was in the prior. So we'll just include those documents again
So
for
I guess
reference.
it's a charter review board letter, the resolution, you have a whole bunch of stuff on that time.
You're in the city council one now?
I'm in the city council one now. Resolution calling for city attorney.
For November 7th.
That's one of them.
That's
That was changed to March, yeah, because what we have, and we have the same document, but the date was still November, and we agreed to change it to March.
Oh, this is a school board one. And a blue folder. Oh, this is Mr. Webb's report.
Okay, so go back to that other, the proposed charter amendment, yeah,
No, this is
the resolution one.
the resolution one, which is only, oh, there we go.
Scroll down.
Resolution.
So there is the charter language.
No dissent in there for some reason.
Your dissent was in the original meeting in 22.
Okay.
That did not get carried forward.
Have we been doing it that long?
That surprised me. I didn't realize that long.
This is the third
Yes.
court.
Yeah, I don't think you were on either, by the way, when we did the 6-1 vote. I think it was still Mr. Solomon.
Okay,
Well, you ought to know if you voted for it, Jerry.
I'm not sure you were here either. No.
I'm not sure it was he, but he's the ultimate authority.
Yeah.
You may not have been here either.
I
I know
was
you
here.
weren't there for the discussion, I remember that. But anyway,
Okay.
I would like a roll call vote on this.
Okay. Committee member Dubiak,
I can't in good conscience vote for something I can't see, so I'm a no.
committee member Whittam,
this is just to forward the report to the, okay.
But again, it's a personal policy.
Aye.
committee member Morocco,
No, it'll be consistent with my 6-1 part.
committee member Narayan,
Aye.
committee member Pinsler,
Aye.
committee member Kilroy,
Aye, to forward the report to the city council.
and chairperson Stressenberg.
Aye. Okay.
So that's a 5-2.
Now are two things decided.
Never happened.
We're on a roll.
Three.
On a roll.
Three things, right?
Let me get back to the agenda listing, on to item I4 then, discussion of possible action per city council's direction regarding a charter amendment on city council term limits. And we have the blue folder item here.
You're up.
Yeah, so I apologize for the late inclusion of this, first off. And I also apologize where the blue part is. But I've really felt that after reading the argument in favor of term limits for 1975, when it appeared that it really felt like it summarized most of the opinions of the committee who were in favor of term limits. Obviously, I'm more than welcome to add or subtract, and that needs to actually be taken from what's the word I'm looking for? A link to the actual wording inserted in that spot. Because I realize right now you'd have to go and look at what's on that sample ballot and come back. So hopefully I faithfully caught most everyone's thoughts and positions with regards to term limits and where we ended up. And to format, again, it's not really formatted. I don't know if you want to put bullet points where we have the arguments for extending from a 2-term limit to a 3 terms. If it's better to put bullets on that to make those things stand out, but I just listed what I thought were the strongest points for why somebody would want to extend term limits from 2 to 3.
So what you're proposing is to just include the link, or are you proposing to attach this app?
I was proposing to actually insert the language, take the ballot language and retype it or cut and paste, or however is the most expedient way to take that language and put it right in there. Have you read did you bother? Have you read the link? Have you read the arguments in favor of
This is a
1970?
blue folder, I just got it this afternoon. So,
So it is in our package, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah,
Maybe not.
When you click on the link, it will go through to the,
Okay.
It's B. Right?
425.
and you're proposing to include the argument in favor and the argument against, so they have at least some comprehension of the countervailing argument?
Well, if you look, what I did was, and I was cheating and I was in a hurry, I apologize, like I said. The argument in favor, in this case, it was Proposition B, I thought summarized everything I heard from the committee with regards to why they supported the idea of term limits. Just below that, below the link, are the arguments against term limits. They're actually printed out. I did not include the argument against Proposition B in here, partly because I thought it left out an awful lot of reasons against term limits. I didn't think the argument by Bill Zuliger was very comprehensive. Let me just say that.
He didn't need a long list. I happen to agree with him on that, but that's my opinion. I think we should.
but this is the arguments, you said there were arguments against delineated in your report or just?
Yes, so if you read just below the blue link, it says the arguments for at least extending the 2-term limit to 3 terms included term limits I should probably do some grammar, removes experienced council members. So that's an argument against term limits. Denies voters the opportunity to choose who they feel is the best candidate. Underperforming elected officials should be handled by voters at the ballot box. It shifts power to non-elected city staff, since city staff often have much more experience and the institutional knowledge that new council members lack, as well as being able to wait out council members that are approaching their term limit. It results in more frequent changes in city priorities and direction. Complex projects often take more than 8 years to see through to the finish. Examples include the recently opened transit center, as well as Artesia Boulevard changing hands from Caltrans to the city of Redondo Beach. It makes it harder for the city to gain representation in outside agencies such as South Bay Council of Governments, League of California Cities, and other agencies like that. And then like I said, this thing can be formatted in a much better way. The consensus I felt of our committee at the end of the day was that any change from the current 2-term limit was unlikely to pass, but if a ballot measure was considered to change the current 2-term limit to the best option would be from 2 terms to 3 terms and make the extension unavailable to current or past office holders.
So I'm still confused. So are you having the counter argument is still going to be presented?
Yes?
Okay.
Excuse me, the counter argument from 1975? That's in the ballot?
You're putting down all the arguments in favor of moving it from 2 to 3. Are you going to be putting in the arguments to keep it at, well, I guess 1975 they established 2, but there are arguments that have come up, including when you last proposed it, to keep it at 2 as opposed to 3. I'm just trying to see if this is going to be a balance.
Yes, so what I was saying is where the link is, I would replace the link with the actual verbiage of the argument for term limits from 1975.
So these are the alternative arguments.
Yes, like I said, the formatting can be changed to make that much clearer.
By the way, the grammar is correct. Term limits is it says term limits removes. That's proper. By the way, that's term limits remove, because term limits is a concept, singular concept. And also germane is spelled incorrectly. That's another story. But do we have have we decided this?
Good question. So I thought the very last paragraph, the paragraph on the second page, was summarizing where we were at. My recollection was that the majority of the committee, see if I can get this right. I think the majority of the committee favored term limits, but were willing to put it back out there to the voters to let them vote, to let them decide.
I think that should be stated.
Okay?
And if there is a number, we can put a number on it as to who
Okay.
agrees. Just as in the other document that we stated, it was a 6-1 vote, we'll state it was a 4-3 vote.
So I'm
We
not
should say
sure,
that.
yeah, have we taken a vote?
We have not.
We did.
What we came to is that same conclusion that you just said, that we don't disagree with it, but we don't think it's going to pass. So it's up to you if you
I
want
disagree with it.
to. Okay.
So somebody does.
We as a body.
I'm in the weed. Just so you understand.
And so am I,
I'm not,
but I
again,
knew I was a minority.
I'm making a record though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a 4-3.
Sorry?
It was a 4-3 vote
To do what?
to recommend to the council to change the charter from the current 2 terms
That should
for
be
mayor
included.
and city council members
That should
to
be-
3
That should be
terms.
included, and
Well, why don't we take another
That
vote?
it will not apply or affect those people who are currently in office or previously in office, and that the term be defined as 4 years.
Okay, that's on what minutes?
March 28th. I haven't, I
Last
got the
meeting.
draft here, so I'm
at
just,
the last meeting.
last meeting.
And if I may, the only thing, I remain skeptical, though I haven't had a chance to further research it, on whether the exclusion of a very limited number of current or past office holders will be constitutional. Because remember, from our previous discussions, the right to hold office is a fundamental right. And if you apply having term limits, for example, or the other qualifications for office, you apply it equally to everyone, that will withstand stricter scrutiny. If you're limiting it to, and I don't even know how many there are, but maybe less than
But
100?
Proposition B specifically says previous and current terms of office shall be counted for the purpose.
Oh, no, that can happen. Previous terms, that's fine. The way I read this language, where did I see
That in
that?
fact was the poison pill in this
Well,
particular document.
can't we put an effective date in the ballot initiative? I mean, I'm still
So
against it.
you would
but I
make
might-
the extension unavailable to current or past. So for example, if you wanted to run for a third, or Matt, or Joe, the way I read that is you can't. And I don't know that you can
Well,
limit.
Joe can't because he only served 1 term.
Right.
Oh, perfect. So you can.
Yeah, but I don't want to.
That I truly understand and empathize with, but you're limiting it to a very, I mean, it may be more attractive to the voters, but if you're saying this limited finite number of people can't run for a third term, if one of you challenges that, I don't know that it
Can't that be
will.
effective an effective date, though? Can't you
I
make
don't
it like?
think it
It's not the date, you're just saying.
Well, as of, let's just say, April 1, 2030.
How did this
Term
stand?
limits will be,
I don't know if it was challenged. And it's a different thing saying you count your previous terms. So that language is saying you count your previous terms. So if you run again, you can only run for one term. This is, the extension isn't available to you. And it isn't available to a finite group of people who served 2 terms prior to this.
I don't even know if it matters because ultimately you're going to be at the May 7th meeting and
Well,
you're going to be
that's-
advising the council completely on
And I-
this. But it's
yes.
our position that we think that,
I just wanted to, you can certainly include it, and that's your preference, and I'll be prepared. I don't know if there's anything on point. I don't know if it was challenged, but it just, my concern remains. Just, I don't want to blindside you or anyone who makes the report to the council. I'm still a little bit.
so what exactly have you been doing between the time that we discussed this last time? I mean,
Do you have a Daily Breeze subscription?
no, I don't, actually.
Okay, well.
He's been a busy man.
the doorways.
So I will get as definite an answer as I can, but I'm still a little concerned about that. But if it's your preference, then absolutely it should go to the council as is.
Yeah, as I understand the situation that happened then, the people who were in office are not happy with that inclusion. So it may very well have been challenged, who knows?
Okay, so seems to me we should form a subcommittee. So because we need this modified, added to, subtracted from, whatever, and some people need to bless it to make sure that it's got all the Ts crossed and Is dotted, and it needs to be done before May 7th.
Find a writing partner.
May 2nd.
well, he had a writing partner, he didn't include him.
That was you.
Possible on what the council wants the subcommittee to put in and what additions, subtractions.
The other thing,
How are we gonna make the May 7th deadline then?
Well, I need May,
I need it by May 2.
yeah, May 2nd. I need it that
So we
one.
leave it to a
Oh, May
subcommittee.
2nd, yeah, okay, how do we?
Leave it to a subcommittee and they assume that they have followed what we tell them to do.
the other thing we talked about clarifying in this was that the school board was included in the motion, but because the school board had requested no changes to the charter, that they not be included in the discussion on term limits.
Where do they find
They
that
were,
out?
that was their blanket. But it would be appropriate to, we talked about it'd be appropriate to put that in here.
That's not very vindictive, is it?
Oh, I don't care about the.
So 3 people can view this
Correct.
before it goes to. So if somebody else want to have a particular interest in reviewing what's going to end up basically provide editing services for what would end up being reported to the city council on May 7th.
So is it you and Ron or
You
what?
were with Ron, right?
Yeah, we were 2.
I don't think
Like
we
I
need a
said,
third. You don't need it.
It's up to you.
Oh, the more the merrier.
I'm actually happy the way it is
Really?
at this
Okay.
point. Other than you need to spell out whatever you have in the blue thing, which is, I can see what
I'd
it
rather
is
2
already.
opinions than 3.
Okay. I will get it to you this weekend, I promise.
All right.
My scout outing has been, Daddy has replaced me as grandpa.
Well, now you can go to the city birthday party.
Okay, there you go.
And the vote should probably be put in here too,
Yeah, I made a
if
note.
that's in there.
I made a note. I
Okay.
will look at the March 28th minutes and I'll make sure I copy that so that it's specifically spelled out what the vote was specifically for.
All right, you want to make a motion for that then?
Public.
Oh,
So I have none, no Zoom, no e-comments, and that's also for the prior one. Thank you.
thank you.
Um,
Any public comment other than the Zoom and E?
Before we vote on it, you may want to tell them that it's after 8 o'clock if they want to stay there. welcome to, but
We typically go till about midnight.
I've already told them. My
moving fast today.
My item's next, so. once
Do you get
I-
extra, do you get extra credit for every hour?
can we do roll call on this?
Yes.
Great.
Well, what is the motion?
Yeah,
Making the
what's
motion.
I'm trying to figure out what the motion should be, because you're not really accepting this verbatim or this, accept this report being given to the city council with the changes to include the 4-3 vote and the relevant information from the March 28th minutes, to add specifically excluding the school board, and to also add that there's a legal question as to how you can exclude candidates going forward with an extension on term limits, if that option is chosen. So we'll include all those things on this and present it.
The report as amended.
Sounds good.
So there's the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Committee member Duijiak,
My position remains the same. I don't see it, I don't vote for it.
committee member Woodham,
Aye.
committee member Morocco,
I'm voting no on the proposal itself and the report.
committee member Narayan,
Aye.
committee member Pinsler,
Aye.
committee member Kilroy,
Aye.
chairperson Stressenberg.
No. That passes 4-3.
3.
And then on to I5, discussion of possible action per city council's direction regarding charter amendments on Article 11, Section 11, city clerk, Article 20, Section 20.1, approval of demands, and Article 12, Section 12.3, city manager powers and duties. The draft proposal, I don't know.
Are we proposing this as 1 or 3?
Excuse me? I didn't hear.
We're changing multiple sections of the charter. Are we proposing this as 1 charter thing or 3 different charter proposals?
4.
Is this a package?
You're talking about only this item or?
Yeah, this item.
Oh, it's a package is my understanding.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
Yeah,
double check.
they needed to go together.
Okay.
They're all interrelated. If you were to change city clerk, it was found appropriate to change the other sections.
Do you want me to kick this off?
This has been through the meat grinder.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve this.
I'd like to make some comments on it, though.
You can?
It's the same comments I had to the treasurer. As you look over the duties that we are setting forth under this charter provision, is there something that you are doing that we've left out?
I think it's fine. Let's see here.
This is pretty well trodden ground.
And the only thing is, because I was reading it earlier today, is just if it's clear regarding access to the city's financial system, that I have access to all departments, not just mine. So I don't know if that makes it, so I can do analytical reports,
It says access to the city's financial system.
right,
It specifically says that.
the whole thing. Okay, just want to make sure. That's it.
Is it system or systems?
System.
Hopefully, there's one system.
You never know, you're right. It should be
My
an
job
S.
has many, that's why I just had to make sure there's
Yeah.
one. This would cause a lot of problems.
My assumption is that's clear, that you have access to the financial system,
Right, okay.
whatever that financial system is.
So that everything's what you're doing now and, okay, and as far as your successor, because we're not limiting this, as far as your successor and your successor, you think it's clear what they would be doing as their duties?
Yes,
Okay, so what I'm reading into this is that your duties primarily are to compile city records and be custodian of city records and elections. Is that a fair statement?
that's one area.
Okay, well, what's the other area?
Well, just not records, but regarding, besides the financial part of it,
Yeah,
yeah, no, and then the elections, that's pretty much.
okay. 'Cause I happened to be watching television and I saw the little slide that talks about the city clerk. And it says that you compile and maintain original city records, conduct elections, you do city council agenda preparation, which isn't part of this. So what's the authority for that? I didn't see it in
There's,
the city ordinances.
I mean, there's a lot of other things we do, but
I understand, but
that's also-
we're spelling out all your duties. You might as well, if we're not going to look at it for a while.
Get them all in there.
Yeah, so is there authority for you to do that? Is this something that you've accommodated to the city council, but your successor may not, or your predecessor may not have?
since I've known they've prepared agendas for the city council.
Do you prepare agendas or do you coordinate agendas?
Sort of both. I mean, we coordinate it, but we actually run and create the actual report.
Physical agenda is created by you, but the items are created by the city manager's
Yeah,
office.
they create.
And
And
you're
I
the
create
one,
my own also, and the city attorney creates their own, and city treasurer creates their own.
but it doesn't get disseminated through your office unless you sign off on it? Is that how it works?
That's pretty much, yeah, I mean, I'm,
Okay. And we talked about municipal code and charter maintenance, although I didn't see that listed as one of the duties. It does look like, at least in B, you're doing something maintaining the ordinance and resolution books. So, okay, and then it says, commission committee recruitments. I didn't see that anywhere. What's the authority to do that?
it's just been the process here. So we take care of it. It's just been our process.
Notification of an availability.
Right.
That's really.
Well, we do the whole recruitment process, which starts from April all the way to October.
No, because the last council meeting I did have on the agenda, but they took it off, that they were going to dissolve some of the commissions because they have vacancies on it. So it says that you're in charge of recruitments. That would, to me, that sounds like it's more than just posting the little notice up on the wall. So again, I'm looking for, is there authority that you get to do it? Do we need to include this in the charter? Do we need to tell the council that they're not doing it correctly?
I don't think, I mean, technically, it's, all we're doing is notifying and recruit. I mean, we're not physically, we're doing the process.
Recruiting is probably not a very good
It's not the
word.
right
Yeah, it's
word.
not very
You're
good.
noticing.
It's just-
Yes.
Yeah.
You're noticing that there's
So we're
an.
noticing and we're collecting the applications.
Every council member
Technically,
recruits.
Council is the one that the mayor makes his recommendations and the council approves it.
Okay. And is interpreting actions that happened in your predecessor part of your duties?
What do you mean?
Well, you said that, for example, one of your predecessors didn't word the agenda correctly, so it was too vague and it should be disallowed because it's a Brown Act violation. So is that part of your duties?
When it relates to making sure things are being processed correctly.
Even though the predecessor thought it was sufficient?
So, okay, so that's another issue in a sense of, even for council, you have to read the ordinance, or a resolution by title if it's stated. So if I see something that's an error, then, I reached out to the city attorney's office, and they are the ones that make the ruling. And so the determination is to correct it was to actually bring the resolution and post it correctly to move forward.
Okay, so that's part of your duty.
Correct.
So you can go back 19, 20 years, 30 years and correct what your predecessor did?
I don't go back and correct the old information. What I do is go forward, and a resolution will need to be done, and the title, and then, accepted from the commission, and then move from there. Because I don't have a resolution that's signed from 2005.
So is that a function of your office not maintaining the complete books and records of the city? I'm just trying to understand this process.
Right, this is prior, so I can't, all I can do is correct now and going forward to make sure the records are clear.
The fact that it wasn't done doesn't undo the process
Right.
that it went through.
That
It's
it
just a
went-
mistake.
Right, and so to move forward, since the bylaws need to be corrected or need to be updated, so we start with the resolution and update the bylaws as of now.
Well, the old ones are still in effect, which is part that I don't understand, because that's you making the determination that they were not correct. And if that's your duty, then it needs to be spelled out. And if it's the city's attorney's duty, then he needs to step up and claim that this is duty. But it sounds like you were making the determination.
Correct.
And if that's part of your duties, then we need to put that in here.
Okay. I'm not sure, let's see. Well, wouldn't that fall into A, record and maintain a true and correct record?
I think so.
So what I'm doing is just correcting the
Record.
prior mistake.
I don't know. It's 19 years that's been the way that the prior city clerk did it. Does that mean everything that's been decided?
But that's a resolution of a process, correct?
Correct.
It's not what the charter says it should do. What she's correcting is a 19-year-old error.
Correct.
It should make an illegal interpretation of a 19-year-old error.
No, she's recognizing a problem. The city attorney, you went to the city attorney and said, is this a problem?
I don't know. He's pretty quiet.
So that's the process, right, Mike?
Or maybe it would take a police report.
I just took the words out of my mouth.
Ideally, that's the process. I don't believe it was done, in this case, before. It's now with my office. The problem in this case is we have no copy of whatever was enacted, the previous bylaws. And so the result is the same, is that the committee needs to create bylaws, whether they're theoretically amended, but we don't know what they're amending, or new bylaws, the process will be the same.
You're talking about us creating?
No, he's talking about a specific question regarding a particular commission that in the past, there's records showing that they pass bylaws, but the clerk has no record of whatever those bylaws may be. And that's, I think, currently under review by Alina, but I think
It's been
it's been
Are there no
resolved.
minutes?
The result is,
There are minutes.
there are minutes,
Okay.
but
And there's
there
an
are no
actual
bylaws.
document that was
There's no
presented.
resolution, and there's
So
no
we
resolution.
don't know-
But this is not the forum for it. I'm just trying to understand the process
It's
is
a
involved.
process.
But the process would be that
It's covered.
if they want to, they can ask our opinion and we'll give that opinion. Sometimes that's done before, any department, sometimes it's done before any action, and that's the preferred way. And sometimes we're asked, was this right? And if not, how do we clean it up. And in the specific example, it's like, well, there's no bylaw, so it's unresolvable other than new action.
Yeah, unless it's intentionally misplaced by somebody many, many years ago. I'm not saying it's currently done, but it could be that as well.
It could be, but if no one has a copy of it, the resolution is, yeah, at this point, it's like, we don't know what they did. You know, we know they passed bylaws. We don't know where those bylaws were.
You know, but to answer your question, what she has done is exactly what that first part of the article says, is to keep proper records, true records. And she's discovered that there's no true record.
Right.
So therefore, she reported that as properly because she's doing her job. And that's what that's about.
Didn't make a police report. Shame on you. Now that you know,
You know,
I expect as soon as this meeting's over, you're over there.
press that button.
Press that
Thank you for
button.
clarifying. But again, my point is every duty that you're doing, you believe is covered in the proposed language that we're doing. That's what the whole point of the
Yep.
discussion was. Okay. Okay. Oh, and the other thing is, and I guess this of the treasurer as well, do you perceive, or do we as a committee perceive that the language that we're changing is going to have a positive influence on people running, a negative or neutral position on the number of candidates that would run for this office?
I think so, in a sense of, especially in the eligibility part, because instead of those specific classes, now we've opened it up to, bachelor's degree, and then the 5 years of experience of public or private sector accounting, and then, or 5 years of experience as a city clerk, the same as the state of California.
Okay. I'm fine.
Motion to forward this to the city council.
Second.
We get any public comment?
Nope, I have none or no comments.
Okay. And then who is handling this one?
Uh-oh.
I think originally I was, but
I think it got passed
I think actually Ralph, you did.
Wouldn't get done.
Yeah, I put it together initially, but all the notes that are in here, I
I think it
didn't
was you and me.
know.
You created this.
I
So, Roy.
created this.
Oh, did you? Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I
This
didn't
is
want.
yours.
It was originally.
Okay.
I got moved
Before you got
around.
on the.
So yours alone?
I have my council member work with me, work on it. He actually reformatted it. So I know that we have one council member who's happy with it.
From the committee?
Oh.
Yours alone.
I
This
was
is a
mine.
different one. This is on, the councilman did the term limits thing. This is city.
No, the council member actually
It was
approved,
on the city clerk.
it's on the
first
city
one, right?
clerk. Yeah,
Last time, I think.
And again, it should be noted there are multiple articles that need to be dealt with as a group. That needs to be clear.
I do have one question. Do you want to start the last section of the eligibility with "or" as a sentence? Start the last sentence with "or"?
Where are you?
So at the very bottom of the page, you are suggesting they may make changes, and you have a lengthy sentence saying the bachelor's degree and the 5 years of experience in public or private sector. And then after the period, you have 5 years of experience.
It's actually not a sentence.
I'm just asking, and
Section 5, section 4?
section.
The last sentence in the whole
You
thing.
look at the very last page.
Oh, okay, I see, okay.
So you
Four.
may want to clean it up,
Bullet point.
the above may be substituted by 5 years of experience as a city clerk in the state of California
Very worth-
may be substituted for the above.
Definitely.
Something like that.
that's-
And it's hard to tell when you've got a strike through.
Yeah,
But
that makes good sense.
you could do that as well. But
That would be the
so you
easiest.
could, any way you want to wordsmith it, but I think it's
That makes sense.
better.
Mr. Kilroy, were you part of the 6-1 vote that's on that page, or this is done before you? Because I know I wasn't the one vote on this one. So I don't remember who was it? I think it was from District 5.
It was Chair Strutzenberg.
Oh, it was you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion?
Yeah, we had a motion. We had a second.
Get a roll call?
Okay. Committee Member Duiziak,
Same objection, no.
City Member Wenham,
Aye.
and Committee Member Morocco,
Aye.
Committee Member Narayan,
Aye.
Committee Member Pinsler,
Aye.
Committee Member Kilroy,
Aye.
and Chairperson Jessenberg.
No.
Okay. Okay, I do.
Wow, we made it through meeting.
And does it, it's after the fact now, but did it delineate in the report that it was a 6-1 vote only for the last section? I'm just seeing that now. It says the changes shown below are what was finally decided by the board, 6-1. The entire thing, I believe, was.
Sorry?
I'll let you figure that out, Member Kilroy.
Mike, before you go. Thank you. Congratulations.
Congrats.
This was a great statement, and I'm expecting more mini charters for cities
I am too.
around the, just for this.
Absolutely.
Thanks. But congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to help.
I really appreciate it.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
You all know what we're talking about?
No.
No.
Oh, the SB 9, the case that was brought by the 5 cities, Redondo being one of them, to eliminate charter cities from the requirement that SB 9 is foisting upon the cities. And again, it was a local control city charter issue. And the last time this happened, the reason I was talking about mini charters is the last time, if you recall, I would talk about these mini charters that were just put in place to cover something. That was done in the 80s, 90s, actually 90s and 2000s, to enable the cities to state that they were charter cities. They were just little charters that almost said nothing, but they were now charters. Now with SB 9, it may very well be that more cities will start doing mini charters just to be able to claim that they are charter cities, so they don't have to do SB 9 changes.
This is subject to appeal.
Yeah, but it's not that simple.
Okay, let's not go into this discussion. There was
We're going-
enough of announcement, and that's
Yeah, but it was
fine.
great. It
I'll let that go. It was great.
Great thing.
Yes.
Chair, you were asking me something about the 6-1 vote.
Yeah, the only place I see the 6-1 vote recorded is at the very end, and it only refers to what was shown below.
With regards to the qualifications, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The 6-1 vote, we didn't separate the qualifications. It was a 6-1 vote on the entire subject.
Okay. So I understand you want, we should amend the report to the council to make it clear that the 6-1 vote is for all the, yeah.
And that's just a Scrivener's.
And all of these votes were to pass along to the city council what was decided here.
The votes tonight were.
Yeah.
Yeah, the prior vote that's in there, the 6-1, was for the item itself. Okay, that's good progress. Moving on then to items for discussion prior to action. We have any future agenda topics?
I have a question that's going to be a process question. Are we going to call this an interim report or our final report related to the questions that the council has presented?
Neither one, which is just simply a report.
Okay. And
They're going to tell us whether it's interim or final.
I thought that we had already amended or worked on Article 19 with Public Works and Contracts.
We did.
We do that already? So how to, at the back on for future topic, what did I miss?
No, if you click on the future agenda topics, there are a number of things in there that we can now take off. Because city clerk, public works, competitive bidding. There are other issues that, the residency requirements, which is again for the next meeting. What does publish mean? Well, that's going to be a beaut.
Right.
And then the issue with publish is that it exists in all of these various areas. But it should be, I know it's listed that way, but you might make it even clearer. That's all we're talking about these sections is the word publish.
Right. Okay.
That's helpful.
Yeah,
Because it makes, then we have two topics instead of,
yeah, 500, yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Dwodziak, was there an item of discussion before you wish to?
Nope.
Okay. Anyone else?
actually, if you move the bullet points over, so it's underneath the sections part, it may help.
Mhm.
Any member items and referrals to staff?
None.
I do have one. I don't know when our next meeting is going to be ultimately, if it's going to be a long meeting, if we're going to conclude. But I do want to thank our city attorney and our city clerk and our city treasurer for spending many hours with us as we went through this over the last couple of years.
I second that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, at this point, we're still under the original resolution as far as the existence of the committee and what we may end up talking about, but we may get, we'll see what happens at this city council meeting. Because at this point, we don't have anything continued.
No, these are all new. Well, the residency is continued from a previous,
No, I'm talking about items from tonight.
From tonight, no.
We have the
It's all-
future agenda
right.
topics, yeah. And those would populate an agenda for our next meeting.
Correct.
Is the assumption, if I could ask, that these items, because they'll be later than, will not be eligible for November? If
Oh,
we could still do November on these things, but,
November, yeah, it really depends on council. When they want it.
So you've actually raised it. So are we going to have that A and B on our next meeting, subject to whether the council tells us to go ahead or not? Or do we
well,
want to?
these are items that are already on our agenda.
Right, that's
From
going to come to the
previous,
next meeting.
these two
That's
things
what
that
I'm
are there.
saying.
The question is whether they throw something back at us and say, oh, you should do that, then we'd have to look at it. But my question was, one of the reasons we wanted to get this done now is to make sure it gets onto the November ballot, correct?
Well, this is supposed to go for the March 2025,
March.
which
We have time.
was required to be on there by the beginning of December. Anything in November has to be in by August.
All right. Okay. So we have time. Yep. But we are clearing the plate on
Yeah,
this.
we have the future agenda topics list here, which we know we've cleared some things from this, pending further direction from council, which may redirect us. But we are still operating under the original resolution. As the resolution has not been, I don't know if it was ever officially modified. Okay. So at this point, we do have another scheduled meeting, is that correct?
Correct. Which is on the,
Three.
Okay.
yeah, for May 23rd.
With that,
I'll let you know I will not be attending, but Julie will.
How do we know there's going to be one?
Hmm?
How do we know there's going to be one in June?
No, it's May meeting. I'm not going to be here, but Julie.
okay.
My
Is there a motion second for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned
world record.
at
But, were you
8:54.
going anywhere fun?